Okay, so we're going to look at a common pitfall when using Microsoft Word's citation assistant, which is what happens when you have multiple authors, and potentially those authors might have names that are not given in full. So in this particular case, in the document here in my screen, I have Michael Stachowsky, that's me, and Andrew J.B. Milne. So his name is not given in full, and we have multiple authors. And so I'm going to show you what happens when we use Microsoft Office's Citation Manager just like we've been doing. So I'm just going to type in our names of the authors, and then we're going to look at the references page. It's going to be a little weird. It's going to be wrong. It'll give us a bunch of abbreviations we don't want there. And we're going to see how we can update the authors without having to change a significant amount in our references. So let's go ahead and add a reference just like normal. So references, insert citation, and it's a new source. And this is actually a conference proceeding. So I happen to know this because I know about this document. But if you're not sure, for example, it might say conf or conference. Proceedings is another indication that it's a conference proceedings. And so the author here is these two people, so Michael Stachowsky and Andrew J.B. Milne. So I'm just going to type in the names exactly as they appear. Michael Stachowsky and Andrew J.B. Milne. And it's not a corporate author. There's a title here. What makes a good assessment? Assessments for learning. The year it's given is 2018. 2018. The conference or publication name. So in IEEE style, you can either use the full name, so the proceedings of the 2018 Canadian and so on, or you can use the accepted abbreviation. I'm just going to use that. So the abbreviation is CEEA-ACEG 18. And the city, I happen to know this particular document, but if you don't, you'll have to find that information on the website. This one was in Vancouver, so I'm just going to write down Vancouver. Okay. So far so good. I filled in all my fields and I'm okay. So I click on OK and a new reference shows up. And remember, I have to reset my references. So I go down, I click in here and I update. And now let's take a look at what I get. So I get MSAAJB Milne. So this is not what I want. First of all, the first author doesn't even show up except it's an acronym. Microsoft Word, in short, has believed that this person whose last name is Milne has a very long set of first initials. And you can see why it's doing that. So appropriate IEEE formatting is to have the first initial, or in this case, first initials, and then the last name. And that is not what we want. Okay, so how do I update this? I can actually update this in the citation itself. So I'm not going to do it in the references page. That's really just a placeholder and a catch-all for my references once they're in my document. I'm going to scroll up to where the reference is. I'm going to click in it and I'll right-click. And now I have two options, Edit Citation and Edit Source. And I'd like to explain the difference. The citation is this bracket 8 bracket set of characters. It's telling you where to go and look to find information about the source. It is not what I want to edit. I want to edit the source itself because that's is basically what we've been entering, so all of our names and that sort of thing. So I click on Edit Source. And hey, it brings me right back to where I was. So it brings me back to that original document. Now, the issue is that it basically mangled our names here and assumed that this was the actual name of the person. So I'm going to delete this entirely. And I'm going to click on Edit. So this is going to give me a new dialog. And this is what's going to make it really nice and easy for me to work with this. So I'm going to add in the order that it appears. So Stachowsky is my last name. My first name is Michael, and I don't have a middle name, so I'm not adding that. And I say Add. And then Milne is the other author's name. His first name is Andrew with middle name J.B. So again, this author did not give the full name, and so I'm just going with everything I have. And I'm going to add it. And now that I've added the two authors, you can add as many as you want. You can also move them. So often the order in which the authors are presented matters, especially if you're looking for a particular publication, say a particular book. There might be a book by Stachowsky and Milne, and then the next edition is going to be by Milne and Stachowsky. So you're not going to be able to distinguish it unless you preserve the order. So you want to make sure that if you want to, you can add them up and down. And all I would do there is I would click on, say, Andrew, and say I want to move him up, and then he'll move up to the first one, but in reality he should be the second, so I'll move him down. And so this is all done. I click on OK. And now take a look at the difference. So it's last name, comma, first name, and then semicolon. So you could have done this if you wanted to just by typing it in, but I always find it easier to just let Word do it for you. That's what it's for. It's designed for that. So I'm going to click on OK. And it says, okay, this source exists in your master list and your current document. Do you want to update both lists with these changes? So I'm going to say yes, but I'll explain what that means. Microsoft Word actually keeps a list of every single citation you've ever done for any document. That's called your master list. I don't personally use it a lot, mainly because the citations are so varied for all the different documents that I write. But there never makes sense for me to not update it here and then also keep it unchanged in the master list. So I'm going to say yes. Go ahead and update both lists. That's a good thing to do, so I'll say yes. And now once again I go back down to my references page, and notice again it hasn't updated. I need to tell it to do that by clicking on Update Citations. Once I do that, everything shows up as it should in appropriate IEEE format. The two authors are in order. Our initials are appropriate. When you have a middle initial, it does count as an initial. And our last names are in the right place. So that's what you have to do. You have to either edit it in the beginning. So I made the mistake because I wanted to show you, but you don't need to. And just edit the authors and add them like that. And that's going to make it so much better. And it'll actually make it so that you're actually following the IEEE format, because the original format simply was not acceptable.